Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to AEW All Out 2019 review. This show was off the fucking hook. Yes, it was over 3 hours. Was I expecting it to be over 3 hours? No, I wanted it to be at 3 hours. That's what I was looking for at the time. But this show was so highly entertaining that it didn't matter that it went over 3 hours. It went to the 4 hour point of an entire show. This show went on to almost 12 o'clock in the morning, even though it started at 8 o'clock in the afternoon, or 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock in the afternoon. What the fuck's wrong with me? Anyway, this show kicked ass. It had two shitty ass matches, and the rest of the card was fucking unbelievable. I did not particularly care for the Dark Order defeating the Best Friends with Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor and so forth, getting that bye into the first round of the tag team tournament for crowning the first ever tag team champions. That I didn't particularly care for, nor the match was any good to begin with. That match, I'm giving a 3 out of 5 stars. We then also had the women's match that I didn't find very great either, but it was a little bit better than the tag team match itself, though the crowd wasn't highly into it either. That was Rio defeating, her name is Hakuri Shida, and she defeated her. Raiho defeated Shida in this matchup. This matchup was decent and okay. I mentioned to my friend Matthew one thing that I still would take WWE's women wrestling over AEW's women wrestling because they're not all that great. I don't find them to be very good in the ring. I think probably Impact Wrestling has a better class of female wrestlers in their division than any wrestling organization right now at this point. But WWE, as star power goes, has that, plus also good wrestling. Now granted, the WWE has their favorites with the blondes and so forth, and I understand that, and that's a very bad way of conducting business. Thankfully, with the Raw Women's Championship, we're not getting that. Unfortunately, with Bayley, she's having to face Charlotte going into their pay-per-view, which I'll review when it comes about on September 15th. So this was, an okay matchup. I mean, I'll give it a 3 out of 5 stars as well. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't even that entertaining, but it was better than the tag team matchup. But I'm still giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, let's get into the card that meant something to me, at least. The other matches on this card that kicked off the show was SoCal Uncensored with Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky. Then we had on the other team the Jungle Express, which had Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt, and Luchasaurus. Man, would I have to say one thing? This guy Luchasaurus is definitely a fucking unbelievable performer. He really can do a lot of outrageous stuff for a big guy. I got to admit one thing that JR mentioned in this matchup. He said that any one of these 6 men could go off into an individual career and actually make it on their own. I don't particularly agree with that comment so much, but Luchasaurus is definitely one of those people that could go out on his own and become something big. I don't know if world champion, but definitely in very qualified main event rivalries type of thing, and eventually maybe a world championship matchup at some point down the line in his career if he was to do something like that. Right now, I think he fits exactly where he belongs in the this faction he's got going on with these two smaller guys who are actually pretty decent. The smallest one, Marco Stunt, he's actually very impressive for a small guy his height. He looks like the size of Muggsy Bogues, who's probably one of the smallest basketball players that ever lived in the NBA. And this guy is very good at what he does. He's as good as Jungle Boy, and I mean, he's pretty impressive on what he does in the ring. There ain't much to say about SoCal Uncensored. If you've seen them wrestle, you've seen all their matches, and their matches are fucking unbelievable. They are definitely three guys that could go out on their own and make it as individual wrestlers. I mean, if you look at Christopher Daniels, he definitely did that at one point in his career. Definitely became one of the best TNA X Division wrestlers in the company's history. And had a couple of great rivalries, especially, well, maybe not with AJ Styles, because their rivalry storyline was really based off of some sick, twisted shit. But Daniels did had some really decent matches over his career, and solid ones at that, within TNA, and then moving into Ring of Honor, he became a world champion. So he must be doing something right in his career. To be able to become a world champion somewhere in some wrestling company at any point in time in his career. But this matchup, very solid, a very great opener. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Unbelievable matchup, very entertaining shit. And if you have not seen this show and you want to, I highly recommend it, because just this opener alone sets the tone of what's to come for the rest of this card, because everything else on this card was just unbelievable outside of those two matches I just mentioned. Now, the next match after this was Pac versus Kenny Omega. Pac beating Kenny Omega was shocking as hell. I could not believe it, and the crowd couldn't believe it either, to the point they were booing Pac, formerly known as Neville. If you don't know who Pac is, just to get you familiar with him, that's actually Neville from WWE. And my God, he was actually booed at this event just because the fans couldn't believe they went with Pac defeating Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, holy shit, the knee triggers that he delivered to Pac was unbelievable. There was one maneuver that he did with the knee trigger that reminded me a lot of Triple H. And it's like, maybe I should say this comment, hey, Triple H, you ought to take a look at what Kenny Omega can do and learn from doing an actual running knee, because, my God, this connection that he made on Pac was just so unreal. You literally could hear the sound of his knee smacking into his face throughout the arena. It was that bad. Unbelievable matchup between these two. Pac eventually gets him in a submission hold, crucifix type deal, and makes him pass out. Literally, Kenny Omega's eyes roll in the back of his head. Now, this surprised the hell out of me, too. I really didn't understand why they went with this. I hope that if this is the case, that they've decided to allow Pac get this victory over Kenny Omega, that they are actually got him signed with AEW at this point. Because making Kenny Omega lose hurts him gaining momentum into facing Jon Moxley later on down the road. I don't think that was a very smart idea unless they're going to make Kenny Omega go on a winning streak, before he faces Jon Moxley at a pay-per-view event of some sort, or maybe they have them face each other at the, one of these televised events that we get to see on TNT after October 2nd. But my God, man, these two guys beat the hell out of each other, but I truly feel that they need to get Kenny Omega back on a winning streak, because his win-loss record is not that good. He's really having a bad year. That's just how I feel about all this. But his match with him was unbelievable. Most definitely a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And a lot of good action there. Then we come to the Cracker Barrel Clash, which is basically just a triple threat hardcore delight matchup that reminds you of ECW days. I'm surprised that EC was not chanted throughout this arena just based on this match alone. Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, and Darby Allin went all out on each other. They went out on each other so badly that the entire ring area was filled with debris of some kind of object. Cracker Barrel out the ass. 2 of them were busted. We had tables broken. We had freaking the steel steps being pushed around all over the side of the ring and shit, almost into by where the audience was, behind the barricade, and they literally were just going all out on each other. Thumbtacks were placed in Jimmy Havoc's mouth and duct taped to not duct tape, but actually taped to a fucking chair, folded steel chair, and put thumbtacks in his mouth, and then taped his mouth shut so he couldn't spit any of the thumbtacks out. You want to talk about sick and twisted, you can't get any more sicker than that. But it gets even better. Then Darby Allin later on in this match, as before he even does this, he's getting his ass kicked, he's getting thrown around, he's slammed through fucking tables and what have you, thrown into steel steps. God knows what else might have happened. I can't remember every fucking thing that happened during this matchup, but it was pretty fucking brutal. And one of the most weirdest maneuvers I have ever seen in my life is Darby Allin takes a skateboard filled with thumbtacks on the bottom of the skateboard and decides to leap off the top rope with the skateboard in his hand and then land on Joey Janela with his feet planted on top of the skateboard while the thumbtacks on the bottom of the skateboard goes through his back. Holy shit, what a fucked up situation that was. Then something else happened before this. We had Joey Janela sitting in a chair, and he was actually flipped, and he had his hands on the chair so it'd stay planted on his ass, so when he was flipped upward, he'd land directly on the chair while the chair sits on top. Well, he pretty much lands on the chair, sitting there comfortably doing absolutely nothing and acting completely normal. That was some other weirded out shit that happened during this match. Overall, Darby Allin was the beat up toy throughout most of this matchup. Darby Allin then sacrificed his own body with a Cracker Barrel, flying backwards with the Cracker Barrel behind his back and landing with no one on the steel step. Jimmy Havoc moved out of the way, hit his fucking back on the steel step, and my God, that had to hurt like a motherfucker. And then afterwards, we had another Cracker Barrel in the ring, and then Jimmy Havoc hit a acid rain clothesline, basically a Rainmaker type clothesline like Okada does from New Japan Wrestling, and picks up the 1, 2, 3 as Joey Janela falls through the Cracker Barrel container, and he pins him for the 1-2-3, getting the victory and walking away victorious. So Jimmy Havoc gets a victory under his belt. Thankfully, Darby Allin did not eat another pinfall and lost during this match. So that was a good deal on that. Now, I already talked about the two shitty-ass matches I didn't really care about at all. Now let's move into Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears was a decent matchup. By the way, I forgot to mention, this matchup to me, the hardcore match that happened, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and mainly because this was not a real catch-as-catch-cam type wrestling match. This was a hardcore's delight type of fun atmosphere. Very dangerous. A lot of guys, all three of these guys could have gotten severely hurt. Probably did anyway. And probably going to be licking their wounds later on tonight and throughout the rest of the weekend and Labor Day. But bottom line, this matchup wasn't exactly what you call a wrestling type of match. So I'm not going to give it such a high rating, even though the audience was highly into it, and I was into it as well. But at the end of the day, it wasn't really great wrestling. It was more hardcore ECW, which probably made Paul Heyman very proud. So let's go now into Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. This matchup was a decent, okay match. I mean, did it live up to the hype? Kinda did, but it was it kind of fell flat to me. It really didn't, it had the ending it needed with Cody Rhodes picking up the victory and getting revenge from that chair shot, but MJF being in the corner of Cody Rhodes did not really make much sense to me. I don't know why MJF would be wanting to be in Cody's corner when he plays and portrays a heel on television. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Me personally, I kind of think that MJF should be completely away from Cody Rhodes. But at the end of this match, after Shawn Spears gets nailed with a crossroads by Cody, MJF picks up a chair. Looked like he was going to hit him with it, but then changed his mind, sort of, when Cody saw him with the chair in his hand. And he just dropped it and, said, "Hey, I'm not doing that to you, dude. You're my friend." So that might give somewhat of a clue that there might be a rivalry happening between MJF and Cody Rhodes later on down the road. Just saying and throwing that out there. But this matchup was a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Very decent, good rivalry matchup. Good grudge match just to, fill in time and put in some entertaining value towards this really entertaining wrestling show overall. That's pretty much the deal on that. And then we had the Lucha Brothers facing the Young Bucks in this tag team ladder match for the AAA tag team titles, which the Lucha Brothers went in with and retained. These guys, all four of these men, Rey Fenix, Pentagon Jr., Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, these four guys are crazy motherfuckers. They stole the show with this matchup. This match was a 4.5 out of 5 stars without a doubt. This match was fucking insane. These guys killed each other. They did everything humanly possible. They went all out on each other and beat the hell out of each other. And Nick Jackson, buddy, I hope your shoulder's alright, because you landed really bad on it on the outside of the fucking ring through a freaking table. And almost through another table. I think that was botched, because he kind of tripped over the rope while he was falling outside the ring. So that might have played a factor in why that whole spot looked a little messed up. But at the end of the day, these guys really went all out proving that they cared about winning this matchup. They made it seem important and valuable, and it just meant something. And that's what wrestling needs to be. It needs to have meaning. We understand it's fucking fixed, but make it feel important. And that's what the whole point of professional wrestling is. Making things feel important even though they're not. And what they did here was exactly that. They performed at a high level and gave us everything they had. Their body, their souls, their mind, everything. They threw themselves around for our entertainment and for them to give us such a highly entertaining show that this matchup, to me, was the match of the night. Bottom line. 4.5 out of 5 stars, most definitely. And then after the match, to kick things, just to even just put the cherry on top, they bring in LAX into AEW. Wow, was that fucking unbelievable. I enjoyed seeing them pull those masks off their heads. They were wearing president heads. One was wearing John F. Kennedy. I think the other was Bill Clinton. And they beat the shit out of Lucha Brothers after the match was over. Pulled off their masks and revealed it was Santana and Ortiz. Whoa, was that fucking unbelievable. Now we're going to bring these two teams together in a higher level and a bigger platform, such as AEW. If you don't think these two tag teams competing against each other won't be a main event of a pay-per-view down the line, you're fucking crazy as shit. Because this matchup, my friends, between these two, they'll make what they did in Impact Wrestling look like a joke. And what they did in Impact Wrestling wasn't no fucking joke. They were fucking unbelievable, those two teams. And they kicked each other's ass. And in this brand, this company, this promotion, they're going to bring it to even a higher level, I believe. And give us something we'll never forget. That's just how I feel on that. That match, though, was the match of the night. Bottom line, hands down. Now we get into Jericho versus... I'm trying to say Adam Hangman Page. I'm trying to say the whole fucking thing all at once. Adam Hangman Page and Chris Jericho one-on-one for the World Heavyweight title of AEW. And I'll put it to you guys this way. Yes, the match was slow. But was the match bad? No. The match was, it provided a real-life feel, sports kind of feeling to this match. First off, we got blood on Chris Jericho's forehead, which he cut his head anyway. And this occurred on account of a spinning forearm to the face. And Jericho more than likely cut his head to bleed, to make it look as if he really got a cut from the spinning forearm, but it was really not that at all. So we get that. The announcers, JR and the rest of the commentary team are talking about how the blood dripping into Jericho's eyes is going to play a huge factor in this matchup, how it may affect his ability to see, and so on and so forth. Very simplistic, but very small details that are important to something like this that can grab someone's attention. So that's a very important factor that they throw in there. Eventually, they do throw in Hangman Page's knee. He injured his knee earlier this year, which, if you went back to their earlier pay-per-views of this year from May, you'd notice that Hangman Page had a limp in he was kind of limping because of his kneecap. His kneecap was injured slightly, so he had to get some kind of work done on it. Nothing major, but it was holding him back from performing at a full capacity. So they kind of throw that in there, which played somewhat of a factor, but not very much. He didn't really sell that whole maneuver that he did with a lion salt off the top rope on the outside of the ring, where he connected with Jericho, but his knee hit the actual ramp, and they can't. The referees. What the fuck is wrong with me? The announcers were pretty much stating and bringing to everyone's attention that his knee may have re-injured because of that maneuver, based on the fact he had the injury earlier on this year. So that somewhat played a factor, but not too much. A lot of different things came in here. They worked very well together. Chris Jericho and Hangman Page really have good chemistry together in the ring. So at the end of the day, this matchup really provided that last few moments left over of this pay-per-view that you could get from it. It wasn't the show stealer of the night, unfortunately, even though it was the main event and it was the world title on the line. But was it a really good, entertaining matchup? Absolutely. It gave you what you needed out of this matchup. Both men took advantage of the other. Both men had a lot of time on offense, and the person taking the punches were on defense most of the time. So they both had an even keel of time to have offense on the other, which I enjoyed. At first, it looked like Hangman Page was going to really be the one taking the brunt of the punishment in this matchup, but that changed after the cut on the forehead of Chris Jericho. Eventually, this led to the finishing maneuver of Hangman Page hitting the kill shot and then trying to get the pinfall, but Jericho kicks out. Eventually, they come back to this maneuver again, and Jericho manages to counter. Hangman Page tries to do a spinning forearm again, but Jericho manages to do his own maneuver, a spinning elbow, hits him in the jaw, he falls to the mat, crawls to his opponent, and gets the 1, 2, 3, and Jericho is the new World Heavyweight Champion. Now, the funny thing about this is, I actually, initially going in, was hoping that Hangman Page was going to win. You guys all know that if you've seen my previous videos before. But as this match progressed, I actually was rooting for Chris Jericho to win. It was very funny how I went from one guy to the other. And I'm okay with Chris Jericho winning. I just wanted to see somebody new, fresh, holding on to a world championship. And Jericho being at the point of his career, he really should be putting over young talent. But at this point in time right now, I don't think this is an issue. It may be an issue later on because they don't need to have Jericho world champion to gain recognition. You know, as long as they got Jericho on the fucking the promotion, they got him working within AEW, and he can show up on a fucking televised event on TNT to perform in front of a live audience. I don't see what the problem is. So that's just me. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much the overall gist of this pay-per-view. The ranking I'm going to give the World Championship match is a 4 out of 5 stars, most definitely. And that's pretty much it, guys. So if you have any questions, comments you'd like to leave down below, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now. I'll be more than happy to provide you guys with more video content, and so on and so forth. I also mentioned earlier this week, I do have a schedule planned, which I'm going to stick with at this point in time. but it might change later on depending on how you guys react to these videos. If you guys are tuning in and watching them and providing views on them, it'll make me feel it's worth my while to provide you guys these reviews and my thoughts and feelings on them. Basically, my schedule will run like this. I will not be watching Raw, SmackDown, or NXT actually live on TV. I don't care to watch the commercials, sit through all the bullshit, and watch the bullshit WWE programming because it ain't worth my fucking time to do that. I'd rather do it on my own free time and watch it on demand or something like that, in that kind of sense. So on Tuesday nights, I will be watching Monday Night Raw and then provide you guys a review on that day. Wednesday nights, of course, is AEW, which I'll provide every Wednesday night. Thursday night, I will be giving you guys NXT, and on Saturday nights, I will give you guys the SmackDown episode that happened on Fox. I'm going to do this all when SmackDown is moved over to Fox, which will be the same time that AEW moves to TNT. It'll be the exact same week. So I'll just give you guys that review right then and there. So at this point in time, guys, if you like the video, like I said, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button and come along with me with this fun, entertaining criticisms that I have to say about professional wrestling. This is what it's all about, World of Wrestling. I'm going to probably try to find the time to do some other reviews on other wrestling companies, but at this point in juncture, I'm just focusing on WWE and AEW, and that's pretty much it, because there's just so much time in a day, while you also have a full-time job working for 8 hours a day. So that's pretty much that. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great night. Bye.